Chacho 2018 at the Emerson booth. And wouldn't you know it, here's Ernie. How you doing, brother? We're going to do the Boy Scout handshake, okay?
You got it, man.
Yeah, Boy Scout left-hand handshake.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Doesn't seem like a whole year's gone by, though, does it?
You know what? And in our case, it's been since, what, 92, 93? So,
a lot of years
who knows?
Have gone by.
A lot of years. Not that we, you know, we don't socialize.
Not that I've aged
we don't
or
go to
anything.
dinner. I'd turn the camera on me, but it'd break. The lens would crack, man. So, yeah, no, you're doing well. You're doing well, man.
Well, thank you.
I love the tone bod.
Well,
love the tone bod. We're going to have to turn you into one of those, well, we'll get into that later. So, listen, we got to get going. So, what is it that is relatively new to the lineup? There's a lot of interesting things, once again, happening with the Emerson team.
Well, this year's been actually a pretty good year for us as far as me getting product developed, because a couple of years go by and I have maybe one thing, two things. This year we've got 4.
Okay.
And we've got a little fixed blade we're going to introduce here, which is, you know, one of the knives that I was probably most known for was the CQC7. And that became kind of our flagship design. And, you know, I was looking at it and I think Mary said, Ernie, why don't you make a fixed blade version of the CQC7? And I was like, thank you very much, Mary. No, once again, you come to my rescue, because I was like, what a great idea that was.
Yeah.
And so I made the CQC7 fixed blade. It's got a little bit longer blade. If you were to lay it on one of our folders, you'd see it's a little bit...
Can we bring it over here so we don't have quite so much glare? Yeah, that's a little better.
Yeah, so the blade's a little bit longer, which of course for a fixed blade I can get away with making the blade anyway.
You can pretty much, you could make, a long time ago we talked about a katana. Story for another time. So, you know, we could stretch this out to a katana or a wakizashi.
Yeah, you could.
Okay, come on. When I talk to Mary again,
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Slow and sure. But anyway, it's a nice little size. It's like our police utility knife.
Right.
This one's double V ground. So for those of you who are not chisel grind guys, this one has the grinds on all the sides. So it's a lot easier to sharpen.
The folks that have that issue with chisel grind, we can get into.
There we go.
Yeah.
So you got the Tonto.
Yeah.
But it's ground on both sides, so now it's not a lefty or a righty.
Right.
And it's a nice little utility size, and it's being short like this. I don't have to have a real thick blade, because it's real stout. Think about it. If it was the size of a katana, then I wouldn't go with a.
Well, I was going to say, you were starting to bid in with those, you know, with your defined pecs there. I don't want you to snap that in and put a splinter into my eye.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got several new folders.
Okay.
And this is one that we played with last year, and we did a couple of, I guess, sprint runs.
I think we talked about this last year, didn't we? Wasn't there like a limited run?
There was a limited run.
Okay.
And we just had so much success with it, and we had so many people asking us, please make that a production knife, because I missed your special run. We said, hey, you know what? We listen very well to our customers.
And frankly, you're in a position now that you haven't necessarily been in the past, where you can address and respond to those types of requests. Am I right?
Oh yeah. It's the way that we have our manufacturing set up, and honest guys, I hope everybody realizes this is the way that we make knives. So now that we know what we're doing more or less, we can basically take a design and turn it into one of our folders in a fairly rapid, you know, from paper to actual part, fairly rapidly. I can build the prototypes in a couple of days and have working models myself. You know, being a custom maker, it gives me a little bit of an advantage, because I don't have to, I can actually conceive a knife, if you will, draw it, turn it into a part, build it myself, a real deal, heat treated, sharp as I can make them with a knife.
An actual knife, not just a rough prototype.
Yeah, and actually test it and see if it's something that I would like, and then show it to other people. It's, you know, if I have 5 different models, new ones on my table, and one never gets touched, well, that's probably not the one that's going to go into the catalog.
Right.
You know, again, we get the ability to really kind of get a good feedback loop with our customers by doing that. So.
Right. And with your setup, it's not really that much of a time investment for you, or that's the wrong word. It's not really that much of a commitment that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
You can take those risks.
You know what? You nailed it, and that's exactly I think what maybe some of my advantage is as a knife maker is I can build a knife. I don't have to build tooling and jigs and all of that stuff to get that first product out. Whereas, you know, for like a car, you can't go out and build a prototype car. That takes engineers and tooling and dies and all that good stuff.
Right.
So it takes them years and years and years to do it. Now, granted, a car's a lot more complex animal, but the principle's the same.
So what's different about now compared to, say, 10 years ago that's allowing you to do that? Is it, you know, are we talking like a battery of CNC machines? Or are we talking about just better equipment or more equipment, or just in general, what's allowing you to do that?
Honestly, we have pretty much the same equipment we've ever had. I think it's just a mentality, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the box, so sometimes it takes me a long time to kind of get with it or figure it out.
Join the club, brother.
Yeah, so what happened is, it's basically me putting a fire under a project. I'm just more responsive now, and there's no magic to it.
And you're finding it difficult to explain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I agree with you, and it's almost like a maturity thing. Okay, and here we go, maturity thing, right? But also it's a mindset, and maybe you're in a comfort zone where you feel, or you're getting that second wind.
Yeah.
In our case, maybe a third or fourth wind. So.
Well,
so you're feeling it in your spirit then, or your
actually,
your gut, your soul.
You've done a much better job of explaining it than I was trying to do.
Don't compliment me.
No, really. That's the feel. What you've just said. That's what it is. It's just a mindset that I want to do it more.
Right.
I can do it more. It's easier.
Like a personal evolution.
I'm doing more. Yeah. So, you know, that's where it is.
Okay.
So,
well, good. Well,
let's get on with the next one.
Please.
Now, I found out, you know, I'm Irish and I'm English by descent. Man, I always liked the Vikings. I always liked all the things about the Vikings, and you know the TV shows are on and all that. And so how can you not want to be a Viking, so to speak? But I went ahead and my wife got me for Christmas one of those chromosome testing kits.
Yeah.
23andMe. So I went ahead and sent it in. It comes back that if I'm 77% Scandinavian, so I'm like,
okay, but that's not.
I think I'm a Viking.
There you go. Where's the horns, brother?
Yeah, really. But when you look at it, you know, Ireland and England were both ruled by Vikings for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where it came in. But anyway,
the whole Norman thing and the this and the that and
big time. So we have our Viking sax folder, and again, this isn't an authentic Viking sax, but let's just say it's inspired by that blade style.
Right, well, it's the blade style.
Yeah.
I mean, you can legitimately call it a sax.
It is. That's the blade style. And it's funny because when you mentioned the Saxons and the Normans and all that, the Saxons were named after the knife they carried. They carried the sax knife. They became the Saxons. So, you know,
no kidding. You know, I didn't know that.
That's how they named them. Yeah. It's those who carried the sax knife, Saxon.
Right.
So this knife, again, is one of those designs that, you know, who am I to tell a Viking that I can make a better knife than he can?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the axes.
Right.
They were doing this for a long, long time, and they were using them in life or death situations.
And had hundreds of years to fine-tune it and develop it.
Exactly, yeah.
Just like we're doing now in modern day. There's still an evolution of knives.
It's never going to stop.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is our sax knife, and it's funny, we've had so many people, you know, it's akin to what we would call a Warncliffe or that type of blade. So it's nothing new under the sun, that's for sure.
Is that also a V-grind?
This is also a V-grind.
Okay.
And I really like the knife. Again, maybe I'm telling myself I like it because I think I'm a Viking now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Hey, beware of those DNA tests, man. Yeah,
anyway,
you know that they've stored that information, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I keep getting emails from them. Do you want to be part of a study? And
oh, great.
But
beautiful.
it's fun.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is we did the whole family, and we all came out with the same thing. So good on that. I never had any doubts.
Yeah, well, you know, but sometimes, that could be. I guess that could be a little. You hear stories. Yeah. I do all the time. So what are you going to do?
Now, the other knife that we have, again, was one of those knives that we did as a special edition. It's called the Tiger.
Right.
And really the response that we got was so overwhelming that we said, you know what, that's a logical knife for us to also put in the catalog, make it available to all the people that might want to have it that didn't get in on those first runs. Because our runs usually are 50 to maybe 70 knives on what we call a sprint run or a special edition, signature series, whatever. And so, we always, again, we're lucky most of the time. They sell out, boom, 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 they're done. And then we look for the feedback that we get. Some people just collect them. It might not be that I've got to have that knife, but I've got to have the next one in the series that they're doing.
Right.
Which isn't necessarily the best gauge for, is that going to be a popular knife or not?
Yeah, but that's probably based on a lot of the guys that are collectors, and they're really not necessarily using the knives, and that's not to be diminishing to them at all. But they want to have that series of knives, like they're like a guy collecting baseball cards or cars or whatever level that they're at. Yeah.
But then we look at the chatter and the feedback that we get.
Right.
And this tiger knife has been something that guys have been asking us now for almost 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, to make. So again, we introduced this one this year, and so that's why we did it. Again, we're lucky because we have a really good relationship with our customers.
Well, you've got a long-term, you've got a very solid customer base.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly, I don't even like to use the word customer because I've never viewed people that end up with our knives as customers. It's a relationship, and it's a weird thing. There's something about knives. There's something about tactical gear it's different. But going to buy a TV at Best Buy or something, that's a cold. I don't know how it is, but
this gear, and this goes back to, like, again, when we first met, and it was literally in passing. I walked away shaking my head like, man, I hope that guy, I feel sorry for that guy. He's taking all those VHS tapes back home, and I really wish I could buy one of his, I think, $300 knives, but there's no way I can afford losing one. That whole theme. But even so, even at that level, if you're buying a tool like this, even if it's a guy who's using it and he's going to be using it hard, or if it's a guy who's buying it because he wants to put it in a safe for the next 10 years, this is a tactile, physical thing. Getting back to this Viking thing you just sprung on me, which cracks me up. I didn't know you were part English. I'm supposed to be saying bloody damned Englishman, whatever. So, although I love you, man. So, yeah, go ahead if you need to. With the gentleman that's right here. So, but it's so in our baseline, in our DNA, our ancestors relied on these pieces of gear, these tools, in life and death situations and for survival. And I think that that's still something that kind of kicks us in the gut a little bit. So I think that that's one reason why you have that dynamic. But quite frankly, you're a very gregarious, personable guy.
Well,
I'd say a little bastard, but I can't say that. I can say that about myself, but I can't say it about you. So you know what I'm saying? You've got that personality thing. So you draw that out in people, which is good.
I do believe you touched on something that I've believed, but I'm actually seeing that it's kind of being backed up by different studies and research that are out there. That there is a DNA memory that we get passed on. Like where people, I used to see it in dogs because we bred dogs, and there would be this dog always throws a shy offspring. They're
right.
Okay, well, how is that connected? How can shyness be connected to genetics? Well, it is, and those markers that are on the genes, I think that you can actually transform them over time. So I think just like, and again, not to get off on a whole other tangent, but
you know what? Every time we've talked, we do anyhow. So might as well. Why stop now?
Yeah. Diet. The diet for somebody who might have been from a northern climate versus the diet from someone who might have been from a Mediterranean or something. When you talk about what do they call that, iliac's disease and things like that, or gluten intolerance, I think that that's something. Now we're all Homo sapiens. We all have the same chromosomes and all of this and that, but certain areas, those things were developed over adaptation by living in certain areas.
Right.
Versus living in another type of area. And I honestly think, now this is where people are, they might go, oh, this guy's full of beans, who knows. But I think there's a warrior DNA that gets passed on down too. Because I can tell you right now, you look around a place like this is a convention of warriors. I mean, most of the people in here.
In many cases, now granted, we also have our tactical Tonys and what have you. But even those guys still have that desire.
They have it.
They may not have actually done it, but they've got that desire.
I mean, you don't have to play baseball to be
an avid baseball
yeah.
fan, or to go and play it every weekend.
Yeah, or to love it as much as anybody else.
Right.
That to me is it's something that's there. You either have it or you don't.
Right.
But I see it, and I see it with the knives. When guys pick them up, you can just see them in their mind. They're searching for something to cut, or they pick up an axe. It's like
there's something something
I can whack.
I don't know if this is the right word, but there's something very visceral about
absolutely
tools, edge tools. Firearms, etc. We spent the day yesterday out at the range, and even my Darwin, my colleague, my tag-along guy, he, you can see him and he's not a guy who shoots, and he was really digging it. Yeah, he liked it. He was really enjoying it. And I think, you were talking about that DNA pass-along, the heritage. The movie with Hannibal Lecter.
Oh,
He's talking to the aspiring FBI agent, and he tells her, or he's talking to somebody else, and he's talking about some birds. Hopefully, they're bred a certain way. There's some that are deep divers and some that are shallow.
Yeah.
Hopefully, she wasn't bred as both of her parents were deep divers.
Yeah.
So there may be very well something about that. And if you look at your family members, that is your genetic family members, and sometimes you can see that. It's not just environment.
Yeah.
No.
And it's so I just think that the knives, again, that goes all the way back to the very beginning of mankind being able to manipulate a tool with his hands. The first things we developed were probably a stick that we could whack something
and a rock.
Yeah. And then when the rock broke, there was a sharp edge on it, and lo and behold, now we have Tesla electric cars.
Exactly.
Mars.
And who knows what we're going to be doing in 10 years from now. Now listen, we're winding down on time, and they're probably going to start grabbing me by the neck to throw me out. And we get off on tangents. And I get people want to break. People want to break my balls and say, wow, and I'm a curious bastard. I am. I'm a very curious. You know that. So for one Irishman to another potential partial Irishman and Scotsman. So there's a little bit of that, but I still got to say, damn bloody Englishman. To the hateful bastards that are out there, go to bloody hell, right?
Yeah, go to bloody hell.
Go to bloody hell. Listen, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you again. We'll be talking to you soon, okay?
Yeah, well, I hope I see you before next SHOT Show.
Well, there's been some discussion about that, so very well. Okay,
Enjoy
listen.
The rest of the show.
Oh, very quickly, price points on these if you have them. Price points.
All in roughly the $230 to $249 price range, somewhere in there.
Sub $250 price point.
I believe so. Yes.
Right? Okay, very good.
So.
Okay, outstanding. You travel safe, brother.
You too.